Hello and welcome back to Cannes Lion 2025. I'm delighted to be joined now by Nicky Bell, who is the Regional President for the Americas at Landor. Nicky, thank you so much for finding the time to chat. I think first of all, I wanted to chat a little bit about you and your career. It's been such an interesting one, working in agencies and also client side, but also you've worked in a couple of continents, I believe, and across multiple cultures. So I was wondering about your personal philosophy when it comes to leadership and how that's evolved over time as you've had all these different experiences.
Yeah. I think if anything, my approach to leadership is I've doubled down on it over time. I think early in my career, leading with empathy or humanity or trying to generate a culture of inclusion and trust was deemed as fairly feminine, if you like. But I think over the years, all the different places that I've worked, I think it's really clear that if you set a strong strategic direction for the business and then you treat people with enormous amounts of empathy and you attempt to inspire them and empower them, the results you get are far more exponential from a true innovation and creativity point of view than if you were trying to command and control them into doing what you want them to do. And so I think in any business, but particularly a creative business, trying to lead in that way is just proven out to have much better results over time, and people are happier in those kind of environments. Yeah.
So of course you've been at Landor for about a year now, I think that's right.
9 months.
9 months, so
Yeah.
coming up to a year.
Yeah.
What was the experience like of, well, firstly, why did you want to, move to Landor in the first place? And once you arrived, what did you find there? Set the scene for me, and what are your goals while, in this job?
Yeah. Landor was a bit of a revelation for me, to be honest with you. And that's because I knew of Teemu, so I knew of our Global Chief Creative Officer, who'd recently spent time at Meta as well. I knew his focus on multisensory branding. I knew the calibre of his work. So world-class design thinkers within Landor, no doubt. The thing that was a real revelation to me was the ability that we have to predict the financial impact of the brand decisions that we recommend to clients. So we can scenario plan and model different paths that clients may take in relation to brand and brand decisions, and then we can predict the financial income 3 to 5 years out and the impact that has on the P&L. So having spent a career saying, trust me, we have smart strategic people here, or this work is, the right work for X, Y, and Z reasons, to have a tool that enables us to offer that level of certainty to CMOs was just, irresistible. Full circle in a career coming back to Landor. So, yeah.
And is that something that you've coined as predictive branding? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the term we're using to try and best explain it. So it's no more tricky than that. It's trying to be clear about what it is. So it's not just ranking of brands on a valuation sheet of, who has a valuable brand. It's taking that information, it's doing bespoke brand equity studies, it's channeling that into what is the actual exponential value that the brand provides on top of just the business that you have, and then really predicting that forward. So predictive branding is just no more than saying there is a way to show the outcome of branding, which it's so much more than just a superficial, beautiful layer on top of things. It can be an asset within the business, within the P&L. You can actually treat it like an asset. You can forecast against it. And if you're a CMO, as we see all these studies, the McKinsey one just came out yesterday saying CMOs are further apart from CEOs and CFOs than they probably ever have been. So having the ability to say this isn't just a line item expense on the P&L, this is something that can drive the business forward really meaningfully is such an advantage. So we have a lot of CMOs really appreciating that.
That's really interesting. And of course, we're talking at Cannes Lions, and it seems like everyone here is talking about AI. So I feel like we should for a little bit as well. Tell me about Landor's relationship with AI. Some people I've spoken to are very open to it in the design and strategic process, and there's a few people who are maybe a little bit more wary. Where do Landor sit in that conversation?
Yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate. We have WPP Open that you've probably heard about whether you've been here as well, which is our AI-powered platform across WPP, which is a powerhouse of AI tools. So we're leaning into it from a creative point of view through early exploratories, we're thinking about it as a bit of a sidekick to the creative process, definitely not a replacement to the creative process. On the strategic side, even more powerful at the moment, because I think that lets us get that first brush of analysis, information, data gathering, and that work is done at such an accelerated pace now as a first draft than we ever had before. And that enables our strategists, who are brilliant strategists, to get into much more expansive strategic thinking than being mired down in all of that information gathering. So for us, it's fueling, we're leaning in, and it's fueling a lot of acceleration of productivity and efficiency. I think the thing we're super clear on, though, is AI is never going to, she says never, on the record, damn. But it cannot mimic at the moment that human capacity to have an imaginative thought, to have an original thought, to have empathy, and to think about what people might desire. That is not a machine-learned part of the process. So making sure that we have the right kind of teams that can work with AI is really important, but being really clear that AI isn't going to, replace everybody, and just can't equate to that humanity and that imaginative thinking that you need for really amazing work. So.
Absolutely. And I think when I think of Landor and some of the work you've done over the past year or so, we talked about Timu earlier, and he's absolutely fantastic, sort of a champion of multi-sensory branding and that kind of thing. Yeah. Could you tell me a little bit about that and what Landor's trying to do there, and also how some of the other organisations that have been acquired, such as AMP, are sort of feeding into that process and making the overall experience of what you're able to create just that little bit stronger? Yeah.
So there's a group of companies that work together really closely now within Landor and the Landor Group. AMP is one of them, which is our sonic branding company. They do phenomenal work with many blue chip clients that are here at the moment. And if you think about multisensorial, how do you bring in the experience of a brand? How do you bring the feeling of a brand to life? All of the senses of a brand to life. Having BDG, which is an architectural firm, the experience firm, deep local, phenomenal experiential agency, doing the most incredible things, man versus machine, really high-end production values, and bringing us all together and ideating around a client and thinking about all the touch points of a client, because it's silly to think about the old days of brand guidelines and restrictive brand guidelines and being focused on it. It's all about consistency, and it has to remain the same. We put a lot of effort into thinking through iconic assets within a company and how to flex them across all the different aspects of what a brand feels like. And so those companies are just fantastic partners to us on that.
Absolutely. I'm a big fan of multi-sensory branding, so it's really exciting to see what you guys are doing in that space. And looking to the future, you haven't quite been at Landor a year, but over the next 12 months, what's your number one priority going to be?
Yeah. Look, my obsession is actually to help people understand my revelation about Landor, which is that we have this ability to help CMOs in a time when their marketing budgets are more under assault than they've ever been, to prove the value of the brand as a business driving asset, and to bring to them that kind of certainty over the investments that they're asking their CFOs and their CEOs to make. And I think that, in collaboration with the incredibly vivid, multisensory, creative branding techniques that we have, is sort of my obsession, to get that well-kept secret out there. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I really look forward to seeing how you guys are going to get on. Nicky, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.